Hello and welcome back to Sports Etiquette with Evan and Evans. This is our 5th episode, so thank you to the re-listeners. Today we're going to get into some more heavy-hitting arguments in a way. We're going to roast a famous broadcaster. We're going to talk about one of the more popular centers of the last 10 years and then go into what has been just an absolutely historic home run chase, including everybody from rookies to MVPs. But let's get to the pressing news of the last couple days. Mr. Andrew Luck retiring from football after only 6 seasons. What's your take on that, Evs?
Captain Luck holstering his sidearm for the last time. I was shook because, this whole weekend I napped. I'll be honest with you guys. So I just was waking up periodically to crazy news or missing football games and then waking up and having to recatch the whole thing. And I woke up and I saw this Andrew Luck retired. And I was like, all right, Ashton Kutcher, where you at? Because I got to be getting punked. But hold on, I'm not nearly famous enough to get punked. Right. Andrew Luck's got to be really retired.
Yeah, he really was.
And my fantasy team pushed our draft back a week.
Oh, perfect.
So, oh my gosh, someone dodged a bullet.
Well, I just want to say that I actually know somebody who took Andrew Luck and Lamar Miller an hour before they both got hurt/retired. And I want to just say condolences to that guy's $150 that he put in. You probably should have spent it on something better.
Do you even play at that point? I don't think you even play. I think you just find something better to do with your time. Maybe
Exactly.
You join a yoga class.
Yeah. No, anything besides sit there on Sundays and watch your some of your higher picks get not even any playing time.
That's pretty disgusting. But what's even more disgusting was the reaction from Colt fans.
Oh, terrible.
I had a friend who burned his Andrew Luck jersey. Oh. And I saw it online and I was like, so are you really that mad? Like, why are you that mad at him? The guy was a 4-time Pro Bowler. At one time, he threw the most touchdowns in the league.
Yeah. He was great last year,
Great quarterback.
Yeah.
He averaged over 300 fantasy points last season.
Wow.
He was amazing last season from a fantasy perspective, and he was the best part about their team.
Yeah, definitely.
I understand the timing is bad, but to boo the man, to burn his jersey, right. I think those are very knee-jerk reactions. I think they're just wrong. I think people do that, and then they look back and they're like, oh, wow, well, I did something that drastic. Now I have to stand by it, even though I know it, I probably overreacted.
Yeah, well, and also you were saying something that was very intelligent earlier. Is you were talking about how the same thing happened to the South Carolina Gamecocks right before their football season one year. Their coach kind of left. And
Steve Spurrier,
exactly. And so the thing is I get the timing is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. You're past the let's assemble the roster, and you're at the we're gearing up for game day.
Right.
Now, when it comes to all of these things, whether it be timing, fan appreciation, non-appreciation in this case, there's one thing that we as fans don't really pay attention to is the mental state of these players. Now, you've played more football in your life than me, and then what's your view on how? Is this a soft move because he's letting millions of dollars go? Is this a move genuinely for his health? What's your take on that?
First off, it has to be a move for your health or your mental. I think this was a seriously drastic move. We're talking ballpark it. He's leaving $59 million on the table.
Right.
I saw a report that the Colts are going to let him keep this year.
Which is cool because the Lions screwed Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders.
Oh, yeah. Other players who have done similar things like this have not been as lucky. I think that's partially because of the backlash of the fans.
Okay.
I think, if the fans didn't boo him on the way out, maybe the Colts have a little bit of leeway to kind of, not pay the guy.
Right.
But at the same time, the Colts are, in the past, they've been pretty classy organization. Their owners had some recent run-ins with the law, but yeah. I don't think that's indicative of their organization. I think they've always been pretty classy.
Yeah.
I think they've been good to Andrew Luck, and I feel like he's been good for them.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a mutual appreciation there, I thought. But I'm really just kind of perturbed, I guess would be the best word. It doesn't really bother me, but it bothers me a little bit that, I mean, we'll bring up other quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, who have taken numerous injuries, played for bad teams with bad lines, with no help, and you see those guys stick it out, and then you see Andrew Luck, who doesn't. And I understand they're different people. It's different injuries. People have different pain tolerance for pain. And, I mean, with leaving all that money on the table, it's hard to see him just wussing out, as a lot of people are saying. You know, I think, like, even if you're the biggest pansy on earth, you're going to stick it out for $50 million. Yeah, almost $60 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing to me about this story.
Well, and also if you look at it this way, Brady outlasted Manning and his successor. You know, he is playing at a high level at an age that's almost, it's not double Luck's, but, you know, it's up there. And now my thing is now, just like we were talking about with addiction and rehab, our families have some sad history with pain and injury. And for me, when I look at this Andrew Luck situation, I think, what if he's a backup for the next 3 years, plays out his contract and is injured and just is there working to get healthy again? I mean, that was my thing is it felt, as a team player that I am, or at least I hope I am, it just felt like he was almost bailing on the teammates as much as anything. Now, look, I get injuries. I understand mental health. I had a poor roommate that had CTE, and it was detrimental to his whole life. But he's had ribs that have been injured. He's had abs that have been injured. He's had kidney problems, and he's had throwing shoulder problems, and now a mysterious calf/ankle injury. Now, he got diagnosed with only one concussion. Obviously, he had more because he got hit more than anybody ever besides Cam Newton. But I just look at it as a whole. I understand the decision. I will not be booing him. I respect it. But from a team standpoint, a little disappointing, and just from the fact of, hey, you're going to have to rehab regardless if you're playing or not. Might as well be making some money.
I mean, first off, to answer that first thing you said about him maybe being a backup quarterback.
Well, like, I'm saying rehabbing. Like, he's on the sideline because he can't play. It wasn't necessarily backup, but it was.
I think it's a pretty open secret about the NFL that they put those guys on pretty high painkillers, especially starting quarterbacks, especially franchise quarterbacks.
Well, look at Brett Favre.
Brett Favre's a perfect
was
example.
taking
But
14.
even another Green Bay Packer, I mean, we all remember that great sideline report after the game with Aaron Rodgers after he went and was injured and then came back in the game and led them back to win. And they're interviewing with his helmet off. He has a big goofy smile and his eyes are completely glossed over. I mean, dude's high as a kite.
Right. And
we've seen it from other players too. I think Andrew Luck strikes me as a guy who doesn't want to be medicated like that.
100%.
And I mean, you know, he's a very intelligent person, leads a very wholesome lifestyle. And I think when he's like, oh man, I have this pain, and then I'm going to constantly have people pressuring me to like do things to stop this pain, which could cause me bigger problems dependency wise down the line. And it's just like, if you throw all of that together along with the CTE, I mean, if you're a guy who's been through a lot of injuries, I mean, I've seen this like even in high school, like guys who come back from like a major injury, like they blow their knee out and miss a season, and then they go back and you're sitting with them in the locker room game one, and like they're practically shaking.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's pretty much you gotta keep the mentality that you're almost a gladiator and that you're gonna go in there and you're gonna live and fight in the moment and not worry about outside things, because any football player can tell you, like, once you start letting that outside stuff affect you in the game, you're going to get blown by, you're going to get run over. I mean, you're basically going to get destroyed by the other team because they're in the moment.
And that's some fantastic insight from somebody who's actually been on the field. I don't have that personal insight, and that's a big thing. I mean, we know that opiates are a huge part of the healing process in the NFL, as sad as it is. I mean, the story like 6 months ago that came out about Brett Favre taking 14 Percocets before a game. I mean, I know somebody who's in pain who takes one, and you'd think that they were on 14. I can't even imagine being on 14.
Right.
So
but that's just a tolerance thing. I mean, because if you know about painkillers, like if you take them often, you build up a crazy tolerance. So that just shows the lengths that Brett Favre was going to keep himself pain-free or at least somewhat comfortable.
Well, and it just also, no wonder he threw so many interceptions. He probably couldn't feel his body.
I think you're willing to take a little bit more risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, and forgetting even about the painkiller opiate stuff, just the mindset going out there that you're not completely in the moment. I mean, going back to Steve Spurrier, that was his main reasoning on why he left South Carolina mid-season, is because he was like, hey, I'm done. I'm not really recruiting anymore. All these guys who are coming in, these young, like, 5-star players, the first question they ask me, like, will you be here my senior year? And I can't tell them yes. So better me get out of y'all's way so you can find someone else who can help you with recruiting, because I'm just not
He wasn't mentally in it.
He's just not in it anymore. But then it throws salt in the wound. First off, it's mid-season, and it's after like a couple losses, so that hurts. And then he leaves, and he's at every single Florida Gator game, which is a SEC rival of ours. I mean, Steve Spurrier did a lot of great things by South Carolina, but there are many people in Columbia who feel that his legacy will be forever tainted because he left early. And I feel like Andrew Luck
the same way.
Is going to have to deal with it. It's going to be the same way.
100%. Now, going back to a point you made earlier about a guy like Matthew Stafford, he's been in the league for 2 more seasons than Andrew Luck. And he's played for the worst team in the history, or tied for the worst team in the history of the NFL, 0-16. He's also been in some 1 and 2 win seasons. And in the first 2 years he was in the NFL, he only played 13 games. And then ever since then, he's only played 1 season where he played every single game. Now, we're talking about a guy who was a top pick like Luck. Not number 1, but he was a top pick like Luck. He was a blue-collar quarterback with a great arm and a good sense for the game. And yet he's gone through what, in my opinion, would be more mental abuse in the NFL than Luck did, because when you're not feeling good and you're doing terribly, there's nothing worse mentally than the fact of, okay, I'm in pain and I'm not getting any reward out of this rehab that I'm doing. So you look at a guy like that. Like we said, he's been in the league for 2 years longer than Luck, and he's still going. He's only played 1 full season. He's missed like 6 games, 7 games, 5 games, 4 games, 2 games, 2 games.
He's been on the line since 2009, and he's played in 141 games.
Yeah, that's not
a lot. Not a lot. That's a shocking number to me.
Yeah,
actually.
Absolutely. So I just
but he's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, when he's in and he's playing,
he's
great.
Arm. Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
I mean, when him and Megatron were there, I mean, it was like right now what you see with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I'd say a little bit of a watered down version of that.
Yeah. Well, Calvin's amazing, but I just being an athlete and looking at Luck, there's a part of me, like I said, I mean, Brady outlasted Peyton Manning, who we all know had a very long career, and his successor. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Look, like I said, I know somebody with CTE. It's the worst disease I've seen that there's not really a cure for, other than the cancers and things like that. But I look at a guy like Stafford and must think, if Andrew Luck's mentally down the toilet, what's this guy?
And it does bring up the question, which I feel like the people who are bashing Andrew Luck, this is the first thing on their mind, where it's, you're not tough enough to finish out this season, man.
Right.
Like, you're going to bail on us mid-season. And I think it goes to, if I'm Andrew Luck, I think he has that same mentality that I was just talking about Spurrier having, where he's like, I'm checked out, and if I'm not all in, I'm just not on the team, and I'm better off just like letting you guys go in another direction.
Exactly. And Spurrier, in his case, he was older and had things going on. And in Andrew Luck's case, he's a very well-educated, very wealthy man. So,
Right.
If anybody can have a quote-unquote second career, he will. Now, talking about second chances or second careers, your Lakers signed somebody by the name of Dwight Howard this week. There's a couple free agent centers out there that might be serviceable, but I don't know if anybody has the ceiling that Dwight does. But also, he has a huge floor. So that's your team. What are you thinking about that signing?
I'm beside myself with anguish, and this guy might still have something left in the tank.
Exactly.
As the optimist Laker fan, I can't help but think maybe the second time around he's good. But I don't know if I'm really confident in that. I mean, Dwight Howard's proven wherever he's gone, besides his rookie year in Orlando, which, I mean, he kind of rubbed people the wrong way a little bit in the exit, but anytime you have the best center in the league leaving you the team that drafted you, you're going to rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, same thing that Shaq did to him, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think what gives me confidence is I just think of the length of that team. I mean, you have Anthony Davis at the 4, and just his length with his shoulders, that's incredible. And then you have Dwight Howard down there.
The best shoulders in the NBA.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then you have Kyle Kuzma. A little bit questionable on defense, but still his length can trap people in corners. And, I mean, then I don't know if we are all buying into LeBron James being the point guard or not.
I'm definitely not.
But, yeah, I don't think I am either. But if he plays the 2 or even, probably the 3, I would like him best at the 3. I'll go on record.
Me too.
You still have Rondo.
Yeah.
He's got super length, big hands.
Well,
that's just a really...
Avery Bradley is a defensive... that's his specialty.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Danny Green's not a bad defender either.
Yeah.
He can step it up in playoff times.
A little older, but yeah.
Yeah. For sure. He's definitely on the team for shooting, but, he's still a long player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, I look at that and I'm thinking, man, our defense is looking tough. Because that was one thing that I was missing from us trading Lonzo Ball. I love him on defense. He's just like that kid. If you ever played basketball, you know that kid who just could do defensive slides till the end of the day, and he never seemed to get tired, and he was always super intense in your face. That, to me, was Lonzo Ball for the Lakers. I think we're getting a little bit – hopefully we can get a little bit of that extra oomph on defense. We need it desperately in the paint.
Yes.
I still think the Lakers need another point guard, though. I like getting another center because obviously with the Cousins thing, we need that. But I think our biggest hole is point guard.
I could not agree more because Rondo maybe 7 years ago as your only point guard, okay, cool. But the Clippers have the same problem. They only have Pat Bev.
Yeah.
But also what I liked about the Dwight signing was the fact that the Clippers clearly made a conscious effort to get better on defense, where the Lakers made a conscious effort to get better on offense. So they had two conflicting styles, and they were going to play a lot. Now you have two good defensive teams. And to me, defense wins championships. Also, when you look at the other free agent centers that are out there, you see people like Zaza Pachulia, you see Nene, you see Andrew Bogut, you see people like...
Is Lopez still unsigned?
Lopez? He is actually with his brother in Milwaukee now. They are both on the Bucks.
Great.
But, even a guy like Gortat or Joakim Noah, I mean, those guys are serviceable for a veteran minimum deal.
Right.
But when you look at Dwight Howard, his stats are significantly better than those people. And his ceiling is significantly higher in the sense of if Dwight really is out for vengeance with the Lakers fan base and he's putting in the effort and you can get a 15-10 guy on top of the people you already got, Boogie is not as missed because he's going to be missed. He was going to be a focal point, if not the hidden guy in that team that makes the difference.
He was the X factor.
Exactly. And now you have a guy who has the potential to be just as good. And that was what made that signing so important to me, was the fact that this guy seems to be motivated for a second chance here. And you know what you're going to get out of Gortat. You know what you're going to get out of Noah. But you never know what you're going to get out of Dwight.
It kind of seems a little bit like he's taken an attitude change from his earlier career.
Right.
He's a little bit more humble. He's a little bit more kind to the media.
Yeah.
To be frank. But I'm just really nervous about him when he gets in the locker room. Because that, to me, I mean, Dwight Howard's never like, I'm going to explode in front of like a bunch of cameras like a Russell Westbrook or someone like that. He's more of a behind-the-scenes kind of like headache.
Yeah, well, I don't think, though, he's been on a team with the amount of superstars that he has.
That's true.
So he will not be the number one guy. He won't be the number two guy. He might not even be the 3 or the 4.
It's hard to be a headache when you have LeBron James there, too.
Well, he's also
going to keep you in check.
Yeah, and he kind of does more of the speaking / leadership than he will. When Dwight came to LA the first time, there was Kobe, who had a defined role. There was an old Steve Nash trying to define a role, and then there was him who said, look, I'm in my prime, Kobe's not, you need to pick me over him. So there was a fight before he even got there. It's more established now. They know what's going on. They know who the leaders are. They know what his role is. He doesn't have to be the superstar. And that's why I think it might be successful.
I agree with what you're saying. I have to take a little bit of a pessimist attitude, though. It's Dwight Howard.
Yeah, no, it's Dwight Howard.
It's Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
He was a terror at the Lakers first time, then was a terror in Houston, and I mean, he played okay. I mean, in some of those seasons, he was close to double-double, if not double-double numbers.
Oh, I think he's averaged a double-double almost every single season of his career.
Right. And if he hasn't, they're like point whatever about to be a double-double.
Right.
But it's always just whenever he leads, people are like, yeah, good riddance. Like, and it's like, huh? Like the guy who's averaging a double-double for you, like you just rather see him gone. And it's like, yeah, no comment. We're a better team without him. Like the Hornets and Atlanta, they cheered. Yeah. Their locker room cheered. It was reported twice.
And it's recent, too.
Yeah.
Look, I am not a fan of the guy. I'm not particularly rooting for him, but I do think that he has a chance at redemption. And speaking of redemption, there's a man who's on a tear, and his name is Cody Bellinger. And he wants some redemption against Mr. Christian Yelich, the NL MVP of last year, Milwaukee Brewers superstar. And it led to what so far has been, in my opinion, the most exciting steroid-free home run chase since the steroid era of Maguire-Sosa. You have, at the top of the MLB, you have 4 guys, Christian Yelich, Pete Alonso, Mike Trout, and Cody Bellinger, with 42 or 41 home runs. We have about 5 weeks left in the MLB season, and they're already at 40-plus home runs. This is just exhilarating for a fan of a sport that is not always exhilarating.
Yeah, as someone who really became a fan of baseball only a few years ago, growing up, played Little League, just never really stuck with me. Kind of enjoyed watching it as I got older, though. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can turn on some of these games and you have home runs, but then you have really intense pitching battles that, I mean, you're locked up. I can't tell you how many games I've watched this season that are just 5-5 going into the ninth, and maybe like most of the time goes into extra innings. I mean, that Braves game the other night was incredible. Went into like 15 innings last week.
Yeah.
And Acuna is just playing like a man on fire.
And he's 5th in the league in home runs, and he's 5 behind the guy who's in 4th. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Acuna too, like just the players that are 25 years old or younger hitting home runs, like, I mean, you can bring up like Pete Alonso.
Right, who's having just the most unseen, unbelievable year where he has 41 home runs and 100 RBIs. Now, granted, he's batting .265, but he's a rookie. Rookie.
And then you guys got guys who are really, really young. I mean, how old's Bellinger?
Bellinger,
25?
He can't be much older, yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, shoot, Bellinger's playing amazingly, and he's still pretty much old enough to be a rookie himself.
Like, he's only been in the league a few years himself. Well, and then if you look at a guy like Mike Trout, who he's getting up there, he's an age 28, 29 season. By the way, Cody Bellinger is 24. So he could even be younger than some of the rookies.
Exactly.
But
he's younger than me and you.
The thing is with a guy like Mike Trout, he's in the middle of his prime. He's getting there, and he's still not that old.
No.
And you look at the top of this list, and the oldest man that's going to be on there is your boy Freddie Freeman. Now, I'm talking just the home runs, just the home runs. And yet, he's still not considered old. He's only 31. I mean, it's incredible.
And he's playing amazing this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But just to bring up kind of the era that we're in that makes this so exciting, and going back to what you're saying about the pitching and the home runs. Now, people believe the ball is juiced. I'm going to agree with that. I've played baseball my whole life. I've gone to probably over 100 MLB games, and I've never seen the ball fly like I do now. I mean, it's all you have to do is connect with the pitch, and it's going 400 feet. It's ridiculous.
Like Coors Field everywhere.
Well, and the thing was, when I was growing up, there were guys that like David Eckstein and certain people like that who you knew were only going to hit, even a D. Gordon, if you want to talk about more modern, a guy that's only going to hit maybe 1, maybe 2 home runs. And now you're talking about anybody can hit a home run. So it's different in that way. It's a little disgusting to a purist that I am in baseball, but it does make it more exciting because if you're a casual fan, more like, and maybe even you're just starting to get into it, home runs are a lot more exciting than he bunted him over to second. Then they hit a single up the middle, and he scored from second, and they're up 1-0 in the ninth.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's exciting because that means they executed, but it's boring to the other fans.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
like, I'm not even leaving my seat for that.
Oh, your facial expression did not change for those who can't see him. But then you're right about the pitching because there's tons of strikeouts. So people are giving up. They're pitching 7 innings. They're giving up 3 hits. 2 of them were home runs, but they're striking out 10. So it's almost a yin and yang. It's like the pitchers are getting better and nastier, so they're striking you out more. But if you make contact, it's leaving the yard.
Oh, yeah. And it's so good for a fan like myself who's a little bit more casual because you come for the home runs, but you stay for the pitching battles.
There you go.
And I mean, when it hits like the 7th inning stretch and they start putting in their closing guys and it gets really intense, like you can feel the intensity in the air and you're like, oh man, like, and you're exactly right. When someone does get contact on it, it's going out or it's going to the wall.
Yeah.
So then it's just like instant action.
Right.
And it's really cool to watch. It's been such a great season for that reason.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's kind of revived baseball because steroids, in my opinion, actually saved baseball. Baseball was not entertaining. Baseball was in the decline of viewership. And then all of a sudden, everybody started hitting home runs and people started enjoying it. And granted, it was from steroids. It was not natural ability, but it saved baseball. It absolutely did. And there's documents to back that up. Now, you're seeing it done with pure talent and ability. And that's what makes it so special. Is you have a guy like Mike Trout, who if he continues on the pace that he's on right now, may be considered the greatest of all time.
Wow.
He may be. He may be. Then you see a guy like Pete Alonso, who's first year in the league, and he's hitting 41 bombs, and you never know. He could have an unbelievable. I'm not saying he's a Mike Trout by no means. No one, please. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just exciting to know that for the next maybe 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a ton of great baseball players.
And it's really exciting to think about those young players that are playing with guys who are already established hitters, like Acuna and Freeman.
Right.
And, even, I know I'm going to butcher this name, Shohei
Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani, the potential next Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
In the sense of he's going to win 15 games and hit 30 home
And he's
runs.
playing with Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the next Babe Ruth because he smokes in the dugout.
No.
I don't think he does
They don't let that happen.
I was going to say, I don't think that happens.
No. That doesn't happen anymore. But Shohei is truly special. And as much as I love Mike Trout, as much as I love Cody Bellinger, I have never seen anybody who is nasty on the mound. 15-game winner because he'll never really be a full-time pitcher. So I'll say his max is going to be about 15 games. But he's also going to hit 30 bombs. I mean, the pure power that guy has. He hits it to all parts of the field. It's incredible. Now, one thing that I noticed while looking at the home run leaders was that the averages seem to be up this year, even though strikeouts are up. You really don't have anybody batting below 250 in the top 20 home run hitters. You have at 18, Hunter Renfroe is batting 230. Hunter Renfroe has had his best year so far. And, 230 is not where I want to be, but you're looking at it, and there's 20 people who are batting between about 260 and 330. And that doesn't usually happen.
No.
And that also is what's so exciting is because the pitching is getting nastier, but these guys are just starting to read the ball a little bit more. We're starting to get a few more hits because I'm a big average guy. I think if you're on base, you can score and win the game. And to me, that's just very, very interesting. Like we said, people are striking out 150 times with 6 weeks left in the season, but they're making more contact as well. It's very, very interesting.
All in all, I think it bodes well for the sport of baseball.
Yes. So who are you picking between Bellinger, Trout, Alonso, and Yelich? Which one is going to end up with the most home runs?
It's so hard to vote against Trout.
Right.
But this kid Yelich is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is a freak athlete, and it's not rare to see that in the MLB. I mean, all these guys, they're professional baseball players. Like they're professional athletes. They're all very athletic, but I mean, this guy does some stuff where you're just like, huh?
Yeah. And his swing is beautiful.
It's textbook. It's textbook. Like, he swings and it looks like a video game motion of someone hitting a home run.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I just want to bring up real quick is stolen bases are down a lot. But you have two people in Yelich and Acuna who are possible 40-30 guys. Acuna's got 36 home runs and already 30 stolen bases.
Right.
So, I mean, potentially 40-40. Well, the 10 stolen bases in the next 5 weeks is a lot, but potential. And then you look at Yelich, who already has 41 home runs and 25 stolen bases. Now, he could be a 40-30 guy as well. And now, that's rare. That is rare and special. I mean, I'm looking at the list of top stolen bases, and it's way down from years previous to the point where it's almost like people aren't doing it anymore, which I know is a fact. But if you're hitting 40 home runs, stealing 30 bases, you're a stud.
I mean, and Yelich could definitely get there. He's
100%.
got the second highest batting average in the whole league.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and he's only been caught stealing twice. He's 25 for 27.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to, we just talked about what saved baseball. I want to talk about what possibly saved football, and that's fantasy football. We started drafting this week. Season's in 2 Thursdays from now. And I just want to start off this segment by saying fantasy football saved the NFL.
Wow. Hot take.
It brought people who didn't care about the violence of the NFL, didn't maybe have a team. I grew up in a place, major city, with no team. You grew up in a place with no team. What did I do? I played fantasy football. Otherwise, I probably could care less about the NFL. I liked baseball because of the Dodgers. I liked hockey because of the Kings. Just certain things like that. When you look at the casual fans, I mean, even somebody, I know many people who do one league, and it may be free, but it just piques their interest enough to get them to tune in. And that's what saved the NFL.
And I'll be honest, part of me wants to be like, come on, Evan. Like, it's football, man. It's still the biggest sport in America. But I know that even this year, I mean, when you get a little bit older and you start working and stuff, like, you kind of get, well, where, like, you can't watch every single game like you used to. You know, you can't just, like, hit up buddies and, like, you know, your friends are getting married. They've got other stuff that they're doing. Like, people just aren't sitting around all day Saturday and Sunday watching football like we used to be.
Right. And
it's really cool because you can have that same group of people, but you're all in your fantasy league together. Yeah. So in a way, it's like you are. It's like moving to a city across like the country or something and still playing an online game with your friends.
Exactly.
Like, we're not all in the room together like we used to be, but we can still get together. Like, we can talk about sports and football like we really can.
To call your friend.
That's true.
Whether to give him grief about that you just beat him by 50, whether it's just to talk about a trade or whether it's just to talk football. But I also look at it in the fact of, like I said, I grew up in Los Angeles and there was no team. And I watched Red Zone to watch the NFL. And the only reason I was watching Red Zone was because of fantasy. Now, I love sports. I would have been watching the NFL regardless. We got those 2 games on cable every week. It was the Chargers and the Raiders. But there's something about the fact that I have somebody in every game, the fact that my buddy has somebody in every game, and that every time they show something on Red Zone, it's exciting. There's no other sport like that. Where, you know, you turn on a baseball game, you might not know the rookie that's batting. You might not know the rookie that's pitching. You tune into the NBA, and it's the middle of the third quarter, and they just made a dunk, and it really doesn't matter in the scheme of things. But you're watching football, and they're in the red zone, or they just passed your receiver, and you just got 3 points, and you just beat your buddy in South Carolina who you've been talking grief to for the last week. It's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And it brought the NFL to the prowess that it has now.
And you can see the guys, like, way back in the early days. Like, my dad would tell me about this in the early days of the internet, where, like, Prodigy was big. It was like an early, like, kind of form of the internet. And people used to play Prodigy baseball.
Okay.
And so it's just basically like a early form of fantasy.
Wow.
And I think you're very right that fantasy football did bring those fans into the realm of the NFL.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you can sit and break down a rookie. Like, what's his production going to be?
Right. And it matters because you have money invested.
It matters big time. I mean, imagine if you were one of the guys who got Calvin Ridley last season.
Yeah, as your late pick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you probably got him in, like, the 10th.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah. So it's interesting because there's a flip side to that as well, where I've seen friendships almost ruined over fantasy football. Guys,
absolutely. I actually was in a situation like that to where I do not talk to 2 people because of fantasy, and it's terrible. It's a stupid reason.
It's always because of one reason too. Somebody starts to lose, so they stop caring, and someone's trying to make a playoff run, so they're like, "Hey, man, I'll give you $60 if you trade me Odell Beckham."
It just kills me. It's the same thing every time.
It happens everywhere. We need a special prison to put these people in, or just cut their like how China doesn't allow you to go to certain websites. They're just not allowed to watch the playoffs. Like the first round of the playoffs, maybe they can watch the Super Bowl, but depending on the transgression, just take that away.
That is absolutely hilarious. Well, and for me, it's always that guy who is like, you know, you talk for a week pretty intensively or too intensively in my point, about a trade, let's say, and you're like, look, like, I'm going to send you Aaron Rodgers, you send me Tom Brady. This is just total example. We're going to do it. We're going to get this done. And then they come to you an hour before the Thursday game starts and says, I've been thinking about it. I know I said I'd do it, but I'm not going to. And it's like, man, I dropped somebody because of that, or I did this because of it. And it's like, you got cold feet? This ain't a marriage. This is fantasy football. So that's what personally gets me. But it's every year that guy who stops paying attention, who says, I'm going to help out Evans this year, and I'm going to give him Odell.
Right.
And that guy just kills me. You're so right.
But to go back to what you were saying about just how fantasy football gets you going, like I told you about, my sleepy weekend. Just slept through every game that was important that I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
And when I did my draft yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah.
After I did my draft, got Christian McCaffrey. That's my boy. I'm a big Panther fan.
Year.
Oh, yeah. And I'm loving that I got him on my fantasy team now.
Right.
Because it's just
more fun.
Makes it just so much more fun.
Yeah.
You're right.
See, that's my thing is like the NFL hasn't really adapted in any sense of the word besides extra points and kickoffs and certain targeting rules. It would have been stalemate, just like the MLB. I mean, they were around for a lot longer before they had their kind of decline, and the NFL saved it.
It did. It did. I mean, there's so many different ways to play, too. So you can tailor your experience.
Yes.
Like, I'm in a 2-quarterback league.
Right.
A lot of people don't like that.
And then there's daily fantasy. There's keeper leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a total example because I'm actually not a fan of him this year, but there's a guy, David Montgomery, in Chicago. Some guy can draft him in a keeper league, keep him for the next 15 years if he has a great career. You're going to be a fan of that guy. You are going to want to buy his jersey. You're going to want to root for him. It's all because of fantasy. It's all, and I'm talking people who do free leagues enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
They don't
really
even have to pay.
I mean, because it gives you a stake in the game.
Yep. It's just like why people bet $5 on every MLB game just so they have a stake in every game or whatever it be.
Oh, yeah.
I actually do know people who do that. But now let's get down to the nitty gritty. You drafted yesterday. Mm-hmm. You have Christian McCaffrey. And you got your boy Cam Newton, so you got a double connection there. But you have one more, which I think personally might be the best double connection of the whole year.
I went early to get these guys,
right? Too. Which is
Matt Ryan, Julio Jones
for my dad, Stulio Jones.
Stulio, oh my gosh! But not only was I able to get Julio, I think he was my third.
Okay,
I got Odell Beckham as my second. So, I mean, my team is – I've already had everyone in my league hit me up and ask if y'all want to trade wide receivers. But I think I got it on lock this year because my defenses are solid. I took a risk on the Bills. I don't know about their defense because their offense is so bad.
Look, they are so overrated. People have them ranked as the second or third best defense.
Yeah.
They're talented. They got a lot of young guys. They just lost their number one corner, which is really bad. But you're so right. One thing that you have to think about while drafting a defense is, is Josh Allen going to turn it over in the red zone? Right. The answer is, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. So I'm with you, but they are talented.
They are talented. And, hopefully they can score some numbers. I have the Panthers and was able to get the Texans through a trade.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So we're looking really strong.
Right.
We're looking really strong. I've got my sleeper, I think, is DJ Moore.
Ooh. I'm
a little worried that I got a little too many Carolina guys, but those are my only Carolina guys. And, I think DJ Moore could have a breakout year. And if that's the case, I got him basically for a super late round.
Well, that's what they're saying is that his chemistry with Newton is off the hook right now.
Yeah. That's if Newton can stay healthy.
Walking boot,
man. That broke my heart.
I know. I talked to you that night. That was sad.
Yeah. The only game I'm glad that I slept through.
So I also had a fantasy draft yesterday, and I got the 4th pick out of 12. The one pick I went in saying I don't want. I like the first 3 guys. I think that you can't go wrong with Saquon, Kumara, or McCaffrey. So the only decision in the first round that has to be made really is at number 4. The only thing that's kind of like, I ended up with Todd Gurley. Okay, I'll draft him. So I ended up taking Ezekiel Elliott. It's a risk.
Oh, wow.
I do think he's going to sign. I do think that if he was signed at camp the whole time, that he would have been the number 1 pick. But I feel now my team name is Stairway to Evans. This was before I met you. This has to do with Mike Evans. Now, I got him in the second round last year. I came in first in the regular season and lost to the 8th seed in the first round of the playoffs and was crushed. I got him in the 4th round this year. I have to think that after having 1,500 yards and 8 touchdowns, that he's not going to be 2 rounds worse than he was last year.
Look, I love that pick, and I'm going to tell you why. For 2 reasons. First off, Mike Evans is a beast. Quiet beast. Mm-hmm. No one really talks about him because he's on Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. And for the second reason, Jameis Winston is in a contract year.
Yes.
And that's why I think he was projected to score so high fantasy, quarterback-wise.
Right.
I mean, I really think...
His line sucks.
Yeah, I really think Mike Evans... I would be nervous to have Jameis Winston as my quarterback, but if you have Mike Evans, I mean, you can put him anywhere, any week, and he's going to get his.
He's amazing.
He's going to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, so I just felt that was great value there. Now, I also took Josh Gordon, and this was later. But I took Josh Gordon because, look, Harry's already hurt, and I hate ASU. But if you look at the production that he's had on the Patriots specifically, he's had more yards per game than anybody else with Tom Brady.
He's easily their best breakout wide receiver, too.
Right. And is he probably in the best shape? No. Does he know the playbook? And he's not the brightest. I don't know. But all I know is he's a freak.
He has been working with Tom Brady a little bit in the offseason, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they've released those videos.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Tom Brady's about to start a production company with his editing and video skills.
Hey, he'd probably be better than some of the people out there. But I want to talk about one guy who I think is going to be a comeback player of the year.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, wow. I picked him.
I did too.
Wow. We had the same thought.
I have not seen a gruesome injury come back in 5 months like that ever and then produce in the preseason and look normal.
He's a stud. He always has been, too.
Yeah. And Flacco's better than what they had last year.
I agree. They have a pretty strong offensive line still.
They upgraded.
Right.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't that great last season.
No.
But I think that was partially because of their quarterback troubles.
God, they were bad.
They were so bad last season.
Bad.
And it's crazy because Von Miller is just, I mean, they got him that Super Bowl.
He's so
And
lucky.
it's killing me. Oh, my gosh. It's killing me because he was drafted right after Cam Newton. So, like, the fact that he got his and we didn't get ours, it's just killing me. On top of Peyton Manning. I don't even want to talk about Super Bowl 50 anymore.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Going home, Evan.
So just to kind of recap, let's just say Andrew Luck made the right decision, but might rub some people the wrong way. Dwight Howard has potential, but is still Dwight Howard.
Right.
Baseball is back with the new home run-ish balls.
Baseball is back, and it's exciting.
And it's young.
Right.
It's youthful.
And
fantasy football is right around the corner. I mean, we had college football start this weekend.
I'm so excited.
Now I know that you watch College Game Day.
Oh, wow.
So I think you had a problem with one of something.
We might as well get into this.
You might have had a little issue.
We might as well get into this. When is it time to just take an analyst, pat him on the head, give him one more bowl of food, he was a good boy, and then take him behind the barn and just put him out of his misery?
Right.
Lee Corso has lost his mind, and someone needs to put him in an old folks' home because he is a danger to himself and society.
Especially sports bettors.
I mean, he picked Utah to beat Clemson and then play Alabama in the national championship. Utah, for those of you who don't know, is ranked 14th, and they're not even the best team in their conference.
Which is not the best conference, if possibly the worst conference in all the Big Five.
I mean, I think we gave the Pac-12 a little bit too much flack on our last episode.
I'm about to get into that. Let's just put it this way. Arizona might be the worst team in the country.
I can't wait to hear that. But I think we gave them a little bit too much flack because they do have teams that are very good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Oregon is a true contender if they can get their defense situation
right. They have an amazing offensive line, great running back, great quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But their defense is questionable.
100%.
And if their defense can come up and be the defense that are similar to the defense that they were when they went to that national championship or just anywhere close to that, they can be a top 5 team probably.
Right.
But Utah, man. I mean, first off, I don't even know why he chose Utah. He didn't even really give a reason. I think everyone was too shook after he said Utah to even question him. But it just seems ridiculous because talking about Oregon, Washington is still ranked ahead of them.
Yeah.
And Washington was, I mean, they were actually in the top 4 last season. I mean,
and the year before that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're just going to write them off. We're going to write off Oregon.
Exactly.
And we're just going to go straight on the Utah train.
The Utes.
Which, correct me, the last time the Utes were good, they were exposed.
Well, also, they were part of the Mountain West Conference then.
Right.
Like, they weren't even part of the Pac-12.
And when they played a good team, they got exposed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Lee Corso wants a repeat of Notre Dame versus Alabama. Because if this happens, first off, it's not going to happen. They're not going to be Clemson.
They're not going to be the best team in the Pac-12.
I hate Clemson probably more than my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot stand Clemson, but they have a great football team. And they damn sure have a better football team than the Utah Utes. I mean, they beat Alabama. Like, we're actually talking about Clemson is a team that, okay, like, we can't just write them off because they've beaten Alabama in national championship games. I mean, they spanked them last season.
It wasn't even a contest, and I thought Bama was like one of the greatest teams I'd ever seen.
That was similar to the Bama LSU national championship game where they just got spanked.
Yes.
It's like your offense couldn't get going. Yeah, well, it's not that it couldn't get going. They got stopped every single time.
Yeah.
They got punched in the mouth.
Right.
And as much as I hated to watch that game because it's Clemson, another national championship for freaking Clemson, but they're just better than any other. I mean, those were the best 2 teams.
Yeah.
Clearly.
And they might be again. Now, I have grown up with the Pac-12. I have seen Utah play in person. They're always better than I think. It's just the way it is. They always have a better running back. They always are coached better than I think. But national championship?
I mean, we're talking about them beating Clemson.
But even before you get there, you're talking about they have to go undefeated. They have to. Because if they don't, that means they lost to Oregon or Washington. Most likely. I mean, there's still UCLA, USC, those kind of people. ASU. But I just don't see how that team's going to go undefeated and beat Clemson and face Alabama and that anybody's going to want to watch that national championship.
No. I'm looking at their schedule. Week 4, when they play USC, and then they get blown out by a probably unranked USC, and then they play Washington State and get destroyed by them, I think is when we're going to see Lee Corso being checked into a mental facility. I mean, it's just going to I hope the backlash for Lee Corso is as bad as the backlash was for Paul Pierce and Jalen Rose Stradamus. Yeah. Like, I hope we see that same level. Because I'm looking at their schedule. They play USC, Washington State. They go play Washington, UCLA. Shoot, I think UCLA could upset that team, you know?
Yeah.
And we're talking about them maybe beating Clemson. Last thing I'll say about this is Lee Corso, you should be ashamed of yourself. And really, you should apologize because he is what destroys the profession of analyzing sports, because he's the reason guys are like, why are these guys paid so much when they're right less often than weathermen?
You are so right, because with the way that our government has already discredited media, it just makes it look even worse. And I'm all for a hot take. I just broke one.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a difference between trying to create a headline and a hot take.
Right. I mean, that would be me getting up there and saying, hey, I think, shocker, I think that USC could go all the way this year.
Right.
South Carolina.
No,
and it's like you look at their schedule and it's like, look, man, like that doesn't, like, you have no good reason to think that except for you just like that team for whatever reason.
And speaking of making ridiculous claims, I'm going to go into my segment really quick.
I got to hear this.
I want to apologize to anybody that listened to last week's episode. I want to genuinely say from the bottom of my heart, I feel like an idiot, and I'm sorry.
This is only episode 5, Evan. We're already doing this.
Look, I'm doing this because I genuinely was sitting there thinking, I put this on the internet? Oh. And I genuinely felt that way. So I'm going to first start off by saying I need to apologize to ex-Texas A&M running back Travion Williams, because I called him Damian Williams because I was 900% sure that because he was on my college fantasy team last year that I knew who he was. I was 100% sure, and myself decided to call him Damian, the guy who's on the Kansas City Chiefs. So first off, congratulations on having a great year. I wish you success, any success in the NFL, but I am sorry, Travion Williams. I messed up and butchered your name.
Oh, my gosh.
So I got to start there. My second point is I need to apologize for thinking that the University of Arizona Wildcats football team could even beat a team like Hawaii, let alone be the possible shockers of the Pac-12. They went into Hawaii in a quarter-full stadium where probably half of the people were your own people on vacation, and decided to turn the ball over 9 million times, okay, a little bit of exaggeration, and have the worst defensive coverage I have seen since I watched my brother's middle school flag football team.
Oh my gosh. That's a little harsh, don't you think?
No. I kid you not. You could have thrown me the ball, and I could have scored on this team. And vice versa. Their defensive coordinator, Marcel Yates, and yes, I got that right, is the biggest moron ever, because he decides to put 3 safeties back at all times on a team that throws intermediate routes to fast, small receivers, which means you're going to end up with a lot of one-on-ones at the 10-yard line, which they did, leading to them scoring because they're getting by the safeties.
I was about to say a lot of first downs.
Yeah, oh my God. I kid you not.
That's the old bend but don't break.
Oh my, no, they broke. Trust me, they broke everything. It was one of those things I'm sitting there watching going, you going to decide to change up the scheme? Yeah. A guy had 3 touchdowns in the first half as a receiver.
Ooh.
He had 5 touchdowns all last year.
Ouch.
3 touchdowns the first half.
That hurts.
And you're telling me you don't make any adjustments? They had their quarterback throw for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This is Hawaii. And they benched him, brought in a guy who had redshirted last year, and he still carved us up. So you went from a guy who already threw for 400 yards, decided he had turned the ball over too much, you put in your backup. And he comes in and he does just as well, if not better. How do you not make an adjustment in any way?
I don't know how to answer that, but my big question would be, I mean, they have Northern Arizona next week as their gear up.
They play them every year.
Right. I mean, and that'll be a good kind of gear up game. They can kind of maybe fix some things that went wrong.
They'll win by 30.
But then they have Texas Tech, UCLA, Colorado, and then Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can barely if you let Hawaii put up 45 points on you.
And beat you.
And
It's
win.
not like, we put up,
Right.
we gave a 45, we came away with a victory.
It was 38 to 45.
We lost.
Right.
We took the L to Hawaii, who, granted, they were 8-5 last year. Their coach was actually very impressive.
Right. I mean,
But you still lost to Hawaii.
That's true. That's a tough loss at the very beginning of the season.
The first game of the season.
Yeah.
Your quarterback's finally healthy. He looked good. You only run the ball about 20 times on a team that can't stop the run worth anything.
I mean, their second half of the schedule is tough.
Brutal.
I mean, brutal. I mean, we went up to Colorado and Washington, but after that they play Southern Cal,
Right.
Stanford,
Yep.
Oregon State, Oregon, Utah, the
national
national champion Utah. And then they play Arizona State at the end, which is not going to be a cakewalk. It's a rivalry game. Like, I mean, they have Herm Edwards there. They're trying to make a comeback statement with their program.
And look,
This could be a really, really tough year for Arizona.
and you guys, South Carolina, has the hardest schedule in the country.
Yeah, but this is pretty tough.
We have number 8.
Really?
Yeah, and
I'm not surprised.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't really see them winning more than 2 to 4 games. They'll beat NAU. They will beat Oregon State, and they might capture a victory against a LA school.
I mean, you play 4 teams that are ranked right now preseason, and then you play 2 teams that are supposedly on the rise in Arizona State and UCLA.
Right.
Texas Tech is no pushover either.
Oh, they're going to put up 800 points against us.
800.
I mean, they're an air raid school. They're just going to let it go.
They are. Well, those 3 safeties will come in handy then.
Oh, my gosh. But like I said, I just wanted to put my personality and my ego on the line and genuinely say I am sorry. First off, to Travion Williams, who borderline won me a championship last year, and to anybody who listened to the crap I had to say about one of the worst football programs in the country with a terrible coach, a worse defensive coordinator, and is wasting currently probably the most physically gifted quarterback in the NCAA.
Well, at least you're getting this out of the way week 1. There could be a very real future where I'm doing this in about week 6.
Hey, the best part
South
is
Carolina Gamecocks.
What's fantastic is it's week 0. It's not even week 1.
Oh, yeah.
They took an L before the season even started. So
It's just awful.
So on that note, thank you all for coming and listening to our 5th episode. We wanted to get something off our chest this week, whether it be Lee Corso or how bad Arizona football is. Anyways, tune in next week for another exciting episode of Sports Etiquette with Evan and Evans.